Let us start our discussion. We have discussed the demineralization, different inputs of the demineralization plant yesterday. What is the function of demineralization itself? The process of removing the dissolved solids in from water by ion exchange is defined as demineralization process. Means we have to rectify, we have to absorb all the materials or suspended materials present in your feeding water by the process called demineralization. There are two types of resin available, cations and anions. Just 1 second. Sure. Now, there are two types of resins. Two types of resins are available. And is cation resin, another is anion resin. Now, what happens? Cation resins is the hydrogen zeolite, where the hydrogen are. What is cation resin? Cation, hydrogen. It is actually the hydrogen zeolite, light, where the hydrogen ion is exchanged for the cations of calcium, magnesium, and sodium itself. Hydrogen ions exchange the cations of sodium, magnesium, calcium, sodium, magnesium. Sodium and magnesium. And and anion resins absorbs the anion chlorides, nitrogen, and phosphates as discussed above. And anion resins and anion resins actually removes the chloride, nitrogen, and phosphate. Removes chloride, removes chloride, nitrite, and nitrates and sulfates. And sulfates. And both processes are irreversible in nature. Both process are reversible in nature. Next is and the resins are reduced to their original form through the regeneration. And by regeneration process, regeneration process, resins are returned to their original original form. Now, a demineralization plant consists of the cation exchange and anion exchanger. Let us show the demineralization plant. Share. This is the demineralization plant itself. No. What is shown here? This is a big tank like this, from where input is the raw material itself, and which contains the cation resins inside it. And from the bottom, the deresonated water comes out and goes to the anion resin container tank here. From the bottom, it goes out, then comes to the degasifier, where it releases the toxic carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide from the water itself. And from the bottom through a from the bottom through a valve itself and pump and valve, it goes to the silica absorber medium, that is silica absorber, that is MgOH3. And then from the bottom, the totally purified water is sent back to the power plant itself. Now, what I have shown in the plant is a typical demineralization plant, which consists of cation exchanger, anion exchanger, degasifier, silica absorber, as shown in the series itself. The degasifier, the carbon dioxide gas is removed from by aeration. In degasifier, CO2 is removed by aeration process. Aeration process is nothing but applying a blast of air through the stream of water, which by its own pressure releases clears all the gaseous substance present in the medium, present in the water itself, which will actually remove then which all with this pressure of water clears all the gas contents in the water supplying to the power plant itself. Now, silica in water is very, very detrimental. Presence of silica is very detrimental as it reacts at vaporizes in the pressure at high pressure and flows with steam, condenses on carbon plates in the form of glassy scales. Deposits on turbine plates as a as a glossy scale, which is very difficult to remove, which is very difficult to remove. Now, magnesium hydroxide, MgOH2, is often used to absorb silica from water itself. Magnesium MgSO2, magnesium hydroxide, is used in the plant, in the tank to remove the silica content. Now, the member treatment for removing the total dissolved solids from the makeup water is also an energy efficient process and is gradually gaining more acceptance. So, what we do here, this member treatment process for removing this is for removing everything from it. The membrane treatment for removing all these total gasified solids from the makeup water is also an energy efficient process. Means it can use the energy, surplus energy from the power plant itself, and of course, it is accepting more and more importance because of its usefulness. It uses the principle other reverse osmosis or electrolysis. The membrane process, actually what it uses the principle of reverse osmosis. Membrane treatment process uses reverse osmosis, uses the principle of reverse osmosis, which is also defined as RO or electrolysis, electrolysis or electrolysis. In an osmosis process, you see liquid from one air of liquid salt concentrate moves from one area of low salt concentration moves naturally through a semi-permeable membrane to an area of high salt concentration where no external pressure was applied. The flow can be reversed by applying external pressure on high concentration side. This phenomenon also called reverse osmosis side. In reverse osmosis, dissolved salts are separated from water by forcing the water through the semi-permeable meter under high pressure itself. So let us see one more diagram here. Here what you see is this is a semi-permeable membrane, and here in this side, the portion of the water which contains certain weak amount or comparatively less amount of salts here are placed here, and the water with high amount of salts is placed on the right side, and then by action of its own there are no extension, it moves naturally towards this high through this permissible membrane to the area of high salt concentration. This is low salt concentration area, and this is the high salt concentration area. You see, this is low salt concentration area as well as high salt concentration area. And by means of naturally this low salt concentration area or concentrated water goes through this membrane and accumulated in the high salt concentration area. Then by means of the external water jet, it high salt concentration forced through the semicarbonate member and brought in this chamber where there is almost no no osmosis water is present. Now, this is the process of reverse osmosis. In reverse osmosis, dissolved salts are all separated from from water by forcing the water through a semi-permeable medium under high pressure itself. Now, what is the semi-permeable membrane? Here, what in the semi-permeable membrane is a membrane that passes small size atoms and molecules, but pure water can safely pass through it, but the contaminations having larger molecules cannot be passed through the tiny parts of the membrane itself. The what is this here? Membrane, a semi-permeable membrane where it allows smaller size atoms and allows small size atoms and molecules to it. Yes, and with the pure water, as if there is no other water, no other molecules inside it, it goes through very easily. But for contaminants having higher larger molecules cannot pass through, and dissolved salts are remain behind the surface of the membrane, which again got choked up. The pure water after is called permeated, and rejected water is called concentrate. The pure water is called permeated, yeah, and rejected water is called rejected water is called concentrate. Some amount of permeated is used to flash the membrane to increase its life and effectiveness. Permeated is used. Some permeated is used to flash the concentrate, flash the membrane to increase its life. And life and effectiveness. To reduce the effect of fouling, water is pre-treated by passing through an ultrafiltration unit, which removes fine colloidal particles and micromolecules from water itself. The ultrafiltrate UV membranes happens to have pores in the range of 0.0012 to 0.002 micron. To reduce the fouling, reduce the filing, and water are sent through. Water sends through an ultrafiltration unit and ultra filtration unit. Filtration unit which can remove, so you have pores in the range of 0.001 to 0.002 micron, which have pores of size 0.001 to 0.002 microns. And normally 90% permeated pure water is obtained from this ultrafiltration unit, UF ultrafiltration unit. Backwashing and flashing are alternately carried out to clean the member from a residual salt a number of times. Now, if there is some stubborn fouling matter, some chemicals like NaOCl, hydrochloric acid, and caustic soda are added to the backwashed water, which is called chemically enhanced backwash cycle. The RO plant from backwashing and filtering is alternative, and flashing, blackwashing and flashing is alternately carried out to clean the membrane stream, to clean the membrane. And it's in order to remove all the traces, to remove all the particles present in membrane, actually we have to use chemicals like we have to use chemicals like H2SO4, sulfuric acid, caustic soda, NaOCl, some chemicals like not H2SO4, it is the HCl in fact. HCl, caustic soda, and chemicals like NaCl itself, NaOCl itself, they are added to the backlog water, black flash water. In fact, it is the black flash. Backflash water, and which is chemically enhanced through backward cycle. This RO plant flow is given next in the next page. I am showing you. The RO members are then made from a thin porous material constructed of organic fibropolymer. RO membranes made of thin porous material constructed of organic polymer like cellulose acetate and polyvinylate. Average life of 2 to 3 to 5 years. This is the RO plant flow diagram. Raw material comes through here. It is a pump itself. This is the filter, multi-grade filter, and it is the multi-grade filter. It's activated carbon filter through which CFB 1, 2, 3, then which goes through the ultra refrigeration unit and then goes through the ultra flow filter tank itself. Then it comes back again, go to the tank. Then from the tank it goes through the RO unit and with RO water or means. Reverse osmosis water, it just comes out from it here. Here, glycide and antidepressant dosing is required, and RO fit pump is SMBG dosing. These are all required. Okay. With this, we have finished our chapter on the steam generator itself. Now we'll start a new chapter over the turbine or the steam turbine contents itself. In the early part of lecture, we have gone through what is the function, what is exactly the meant by the turbine itself, what is the mean turbine, how it is used, how it feeds the generator, etc. Now what we'll do, we'll go through first different aspects of the turbine items used in turbines, especially the nozzle itself. And what is nozzle? Nozzle is a duct of pipe flowing through. The velocity while fluid increases at the expense of pressure drop. What is nozzle here? It's a duct through which the velocity of fluid, through which velocity of the fluid increases at the expense of pressure drop, increases at the expense of pressure drop. Actually, what is happening here? We have got the steam at high pressure and then injected, which is injected through the nozzle itself, and nozzle is injecting the steam at high velocity to the turbine blades at the expense of the high pressure at the inlet of the nozzle created by steam itself. Now, the duct is also decreases the velocity of species, corresponding increase in pressure is called a diffuser. This is what is diffuser. It is also a duct which increases the pressure at the expense of reduction in velocity. Now, there's some duct may be either a nozzle or a diffuser, depends on the type of end condition across it. If the cross-section of the duct decreases continuously from inlet to exit, the duct is said to be convergent. And if it increases from inlet to exit, duct is said to be divergent. Cross-section of the duct decreases continuously from inlet to outlet. It is called Inlet to outlet is called duct is just it is called convergent duct. Convergent duct. And if the cross section of the duct, the cross section increases continuously from inlet to exits, it is called divergent duct. If the cross section usually decreases, then increases, it is convergent divergent. The minimum cross section of this type of ducts is called throat. If the duct decreases in area from inlet, and after some time increases to exist, it is called convergent divergent duct. Convergent divergent duct. And the cross section which have minimum duct area, it is called throat. Now, a fluid is said to be compressible if density changes with a change in pressure or temperature, and if it does not changes into pressure or changes extremely little, the fluid is said to be incompressible. Gases or vapors are compressible, liquids are incompressible. A fluid is said to be compressible when its density changes, when its density increases with increase in pressure or temperature It is incompressible when it does not change the density at all. All the gases and vapors are compressible, but the liquids are incompressible. Gas and vapor are compressible, liquid water is incompressible. Simple. Now, Now, what is the velocity pulse in a fluid? Velocity of pressure pulse in a fluid. What is the velocity of pressure pulse in a fluid? Say we have a duct like this. We have a piston for increasing the compression here, and we also have a wave front. So this is dV, and this is the C. This is called wave front. Now, let us consider infinitesimal pressure. Pressure wave was increased by a slight movement of piston to the right. This is the piston. Initially, piston was in a stationary position, and wave front also kept a particular place in the duct itself. If the piston moves slightly, the pressure swings slightly by an amount delta V. The pressure front propagates steadily to the right with the velocity c, which is known as the velocity of the sound. So if there is slight movement of velocity, movement in the piston, we are assuming that wave front is moving rightwards towards in the velocity of the sound itself. Sounds or sonic velocity of sound, sonical or acoustic velocity. But fluid near the piston level C increases or moves with sonic velocity when there is a infinitesimally small movement. Pressure wave, light movement of the pressure. When there is a slight movement, say like movement of piston to right. The fluid near piston has a slightly increased pressure and there is slightly more tense than the fluid. The fluid near the piston has a slight increase in density and pressure. And this is slightly more dense than the fluid away from the piston itself. Now, if we have an observer, let us make this pipe once again. Yes, P plus dP, rho plus delta rho, and H plus delta H. Due to the movement of piston on the left to a slight movement on the right, pressure will increase internationally by dP, density increases by dP, and enthalpy content or energy content will increase by delta H itself. And now what happens if we have an observer This is our content. This is our wet front. And this is P here, rho here, and H here. Now, an observer will be assumed to travel in the wave front, travel with the wave front to the right. Here we have, say, observer here. He's traveling with the wave front to the right and with the velocity or sonic velocity c itself. Now, fluids down will steadily flow from right to left now because the total orbital is moving with the road from, so that's why fluid will go to pass through it and it will move towards the left, right to left. And through the wave front, the velocity is reduced from sonic velocity to a certain extent by dv. At the same time, the pressure rise to dp, p plus dp, and density rise from p plus rho plus d rho. So the continuity equation of the control volume will give us, in this case, the continuity equation, continuity equation of the control volume. For control volume, will be gives us rho into AC, rho AC, C is the sonic velocity is equal to rho is increases plus by d rho. Area doesn't change, it remains same. C decreases minus C minus D into V, D into V itself. C D minus dV means here initial density area and sonic velocity was, it changed to d plus d rho, which density increases, area remains same, and speed is reduces to maintain the continuity of the equation itself. Thus, rho c, here A will be deducted, A will be removed as it is same. So rho c is equal to rho c minus rho dv plus c d rho minus d rho dv. Here, this portion is extremely small, so we can simply neglect it, and this PC will cancel each other. Thus, this equation become rho dv dot is equal to c d rho. And the momentum equation for the control volume will give us momentum equation. This is the continuity equation. Now the momentum equation for will become as P minus, because initial it was P minus P plus dP. It is the momentum, what is the change in pressure? Full multiplied by the area. Its total load changing is equal to rho into A into C multiplied by C minus dV bar. Sonic velocity is changing, and minus C initial sonic velocity was equal to the sonic velocity. This equation will reduce to, from these two equations, this one and this one, we get dP divided by C or equal to C into D rho. And thus C is equal to dP by D rho to the power half or square root. Since the variation in pressure and temperature are very negligibly small, the change of state is so fast to be essentially adiabatic, and the chance of insertion, absence of internal friction or velocity is less, the process is reversible isentropic. Hence, the sonic velocity is here given as sonic velocity is given as C is equal to square root of del rho by del P by del rho. No fluid is truly impossible, though the liquids show little change in density. The velocity of sound in common liquids of the order of, and velocity of sound in common liquids is of the order of 1650 meter per second. So with this, I'm stopping my class for the day. Nobody of you has attended, so there will not be any attendance.